Woohoo! Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Wednesday morning edition of the Off Base Podcast. The podcast that is very carefully crafted to remind you to suck on a fat one if you think that you happen to be, out of the 7 billion people on the planet, if you happen to be the only one. Because you're not. Oh, I got the double glasses. How about that? I'm your host. I'm the Rocky Mountain no-name Jackass. And it's 64 degrees here in the city of Aurora at 7:55 in the a.m. on Wednesday, May 11th, 2022. Chaw time. There it is. My wife's least favorite part of the podcast, and I understand. I get it. I didn't know what the fuck I was going to say right there. All right, here we go, peeps. Heading on back. First and foremost, good fucking Lord. I had probably 6-7 days straight of really, really good sleep, and then fucking I don't know what the fuck happened yesterday. I have ideas. I think I had shitty sleep last night. Really bad. Not good. I think what I might do on nights like last night is maybe I'll make a doctor's appointment and get a prescription for clonazepam. My wife used to get it, and whenever I would take that shit, oh my god, it's a great sleep aid. But what I don't want to do is become addicted to it. So I'm looking forward to taking a clonazepam every night. I don't want to do that. Just do that if I'm having trouble, and it's pretty quick acting. So, I mean, last night. We went to bed roughly the same time we always do, 8:39. So I'm lying in bed about 9:15, and time's just dragging on, and I'm not falling asleep. And then the bass every day at 10 o'clock, they actually play taps. And we had some windows open in the house last night because it's been getting a lot warmer here in Colorado. And I heard taps coming through the window, and I'm like, oh shit. My wife, unfortunately, wears earplugs while she's sleeping, so she didn't hear it. I heard it, and I'm like, god damn it, all right, and then I got up, YouTube rabbit holes, and then didn't go to sleep until very early in the morning. Not good, people. Not good. So, if I can impress anything upon... I had coffee go down the wrong hole about 5 minutes ago. Still with me. If I can impress anything upon my two podcast listeners, it's to continue to be vigilant with your own sleep. As I'm quite pissed off that I fucked mine up last night. Boop, yellow light. I remember at a time when I first started doing these, probably about, 7 months ago, 8 months ago, that the view of the Rocky Mountains in the background would astonish me. Big yawn, by the way. And it's still it's a beautiful view, but now we're getting to the point where we're used to it. It's funny. Anyway, gotta fix the sleep issue, people. Got to. And I will do my best and forget the rest. Excuse me, now I'm burping for you. How about that? Yum. So, as far as the rest of the day goes, I got a nice project that I'm working on for work. That I've been, and it's just in general, when I've been doing projects like this one, I've been getting some nice recognition from our managerial staff. So they like what I'm doing, which is nice. Because one of the things that started to worry me again yesterday, and in general I think I'm going to be in good shape with my job, is the fact that I work for somebody else, right? I mean, this is a concept that is, especially in our day and age, and the way in which small businesses have been, okay, I'm good. Small businesses have kind of just been squeezed out of all kinds of different marketplaces in favor of the larger corporations. There was a time when entrepreneurism could filter its way down to all kinds of different industries, and you could start your own company. I don't want to say it's harder nowadays. I don't want to say it's harder to work for yourself. Maybe it just seems like that because I never have. One of the first really successful entrepreneurs that I met in person was a fellow by the name of Ken Buckman. My wife went to high school with his wife, and he had a very successful business that he recently sold. It was like in 2018, 2019, right before the top of the market. And his timing, I don't think, could have been any more perfect for when he got out of his business, because it had to do with going to trade shows. So it was shortly after that, like he designed all the booths for trade shows and whatnot. And right after that came the coronavirus. Well, guess how many trade shows were going on at that point, especially in Las Vegas, which was one of their main hubs. So timing absolutely perfect. I mean, it was unbelievable how lucky he was. I don't know if he was lucky or if he was actually aware of macroeconomic trends and what was could potentially happen. I don't know. Either way, when I first met this guy, I mean, he had a wonderful energy about him. Granted, he worked a ton, and that's what you really have to do, in order to be successful. The rest of us, I work for somebody else. Somebody else had the idea to to become a data provider, and I love telling the story of how our founder, Reed Nagel, initially found SNL Financial, and we were bought out by S&P Global. But he had the idea. He just needed a bunch of people to help him execute the idea. So we're working for somebody else, And the entrepreneurial mindset isn't something that's taught in schools, because for the most part, what are you going to school for? So you can get the expertise to get a job when you get out. A job doing what? Working for somebody else. And it doesn't matter what the specialty is. One thing that's nice though about, I was just going to say, give an example of specialties. One thing that's nice about certain specialties, like my wife has a PhD in psychology, she can start her own practice when she's done. Now it's going to take a little bit more work than if she, found a job with a company that already had that infrastructure in place. But she can do it. I have a degree in organic chemistry. I loved teaching. I can't start my own college. But if I were going to use my degree for the industry, I'd be in a lab somewhere making drugs, working for somebody else. Could I start my own lab? Maybe. If I had a phenomenal idea for synthesizing a particular drug on a mass scale with excellent yields and low alternative products that are side reactions that come out of it. Who knows? The fact of the matter is that entrepreneurism is something that I admire extraordinarily, because it's something that was never really in my purview coming through my formative years. So I got to thinking, the way in which economic data has been coming out as of late, and the fact that the Federal Reserve is removing accommodation from the system. And you look at the stock charts of a lot of these companies that exploded through the pandemic that would not have existed in the first place had it not been for the cheap money that was being supplied to the marketplace by the Federal Reserve. Companies all over the place were just springing up. People had the ideas. Hey, I'm going to start this company. And a lot of them that I'm referring to right now are like crypto companies, cryptocurrency companies, crypto miners. What are some of the other ones? Like Robinhood, which was the trading platform. One of the big things that they used to hook millennials in, because millennials were the ones that were mainly using Robinhood, millennials and younger, was that you could trade cryptocurrencies on our platform. It's like, oh, okay, great. I mean, it was a phenomenal idea. They were selling their order flow to larger firms and pocketing the difference there. It's a great idea, and I'm pretty sure they were transparent with how they were conducting it. I'm 100% positive that the customers, knew, or they had the data published on the website that yes, the reason why your trades are free is because you're kind of getting screwed on on the slippage, which is fine as long as people know. And they had no problem with it. And in a bull market, it's like, well, what do you care? Anything you buy is going to go up. Doesn't take a genius to get rich in a bull market, right? I forgot what the saying is. Something like any banker can be successful in a bull market. Anyway, I'm getting off track. Bottom line is that there were a ton of businesses that sprang up that are now going to end up folding because of the removal of accommodations from the Federal Reserve, and because the economy is starting to weaken, it's starting to slow, and because inflation is kicking up big time. So other companies that, depend on certain raw materials to produce their goods are having to jack up prices as well. Other companies that provide certain services are having to lay off their workforces in order to cut costs so that the business can survive. It's all part of the business world, but it just got me thinking again about whether or not my particular job would be in jeopardy. Because I've been working for the same company now since 2008. I think January 2008 is when I started working for this company. And that's 14 years ago. And I think I'm going to be in pretty good shape because there's never any shortage of data. And in the 2008 financial crisis, I'll never forget it, when all the shit was going down and the government instituted their Troubled Asset Relief Program, the TARP program, my company was smart enough to jump right on that, and we were the foremost suppliers of TARP data. We recognized where there was a need, and all kinds of people were going to need to know how much TARP money was given out, how much is being paid back, blah, 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 the interest on the on the debt. So data is not going to be in any shorter supply as we continue to move forward. And that's what I do. I take the data that we collect from all kinds of public agencies. This is not under the table data. This is all publicly available information. And then our clients subscribe to our service, and we just redisseminate the data however they want it seen, whether it's in an Excel format or it's on our website. But companies that are in certain industries, I was listening to a couple different podcasts yesterday that have me worried for my fellow American. And I apologize up front if this is a sobering thought, but this is what our country has to go through in order to get onto better economic footing. The guy was talking about the housing industry here in the United States. When interest rates rise, that makes house price affordability tougher, because you have to pay back your mortgage. And mortgage rates, I think, are up 66% over the last 12 months. That's huge, man. Going from a 3% mortgage to a 5% mortgage, that is huge. especially for families that are just starting out. So when interest rates rise like that, nobody's going to be buying new homes. They're going to be buying used homes. And as a result, there's the supply on the market is going to overwhelm the demand, which means prices will drop, which means home builders aren't going to be building as many houses, which means everything that's associated with that. And by the way, the cost to build homes since the pandemic obviously went through the roof. I don't know if anybody out there saw what happened to prices of lumber, but that was fucking ridiculous. I think they went up I think it was 5 or 6 fold in a period of six months. Is ridiculous. So all the input costs went up. So guess what happened to the cost of buying a new house? Yeah, you got it. It skyrocketed. The levels that we're at right now, in terms of nominal prices on houses, are extraordinary, and they're coming down. They have to come down, and all the people that are ancillary to building homes, any contractors that you have to come in to do, electrical work or plumbing or whatever, painters, a lot of those jobs are going to be gone. And our housing industry could potentially go through a really, really rough time, as there's so much new supply on the market that's worth a lot of money that they're going to have to sell those houses at a loss, number one. And then they're going to have to find a way to stay in business. And how are they going to do that? Well, they're going to build less houses. They're probably going to cut staff, cut contractors. It is a shame, but that is how excesses in bubbles get wrung out and put us on better footing. Now, the same thing happened in 2008 with all the shit that was going on then. But the problem was that the government didn't allow, by the government I mean the Federal Reserve, didn't allow the system to cleanse. Instead of letting the banks go out of business, the ones that had made the bad bets, because that's the medicine that you have to take when you fuck up. What they did was they had Secretary Hank Paulson and Ben Bernanke, chairman of the Federal Reserve, go to Congress and say, hey, if you don't pass this bill to give us $700 billion to bail the banks out, and I'll rephrase it again. If you don't give us $700 billion that you have to collect from your taxpayers that come out of their paycheck every 2 weeks, if you don't give us a collective sum of $700 billion, businesses won't open on Monday. I'll never forget it. That's what they went to Congress with. They didn't go to Congress with, this is what has happened in the past, and this is how we need to fix it. They went to Congress with, this is what might happen, so give us the money. We had no proof that that's what was going to happen. And if it did, there would have been ways to get through it, because there were people in the 2008 financial crisis who saw it coming from a mile away. You just find smart money managers on YouTube who called that crash 2 years in advance. 2 years in advance, because they knew what the banks were doing with mortgage-backed securities and credit default swaps. They saw it coming. They saw the writing on the wall. So look at The Big Short. It's another good one. People saw it coming. So, you're going to tell me that you didn't have billionaires sitting on the sidelines saying, I can't wait for this bank to fail because I'm going to swoop up all their good assets. You tell me you didn't have people on the sidelines waiting for that shit to happen? Give me a fucking break. They would have come in. They would have gotten the money markets flowing again. People would have gotten their paychecks. But no, you put that kind of fear into a congressperson who then has to go back to their districts and be like, yeah, we voted down a bill that would have gotten you your paychecks for the last 2 months, 3 months. It's like, hey, man. That may have been the pain that we would have had to endure, but we wouldn't have had those banks getting bailed out. And now they're stronger than ever, and they're bigger than ever. It sucks. Where the fuck am I going with all this? Is it depressing? It never really was for me. It was sobering, and then it was maddening to learn all that information. I mean, I researched the 2008 financial crisis a ton between like 2012 and 2016, 2017. I researched it a ton and learned exactly what was going on. Not exactly, but got the major story of what was going on during that time. And again, it was sobering and it was maddening to think that people in Congress just didn't have the balls to stick it to the people. It's a fucking free market. You make a bad choice in a free market, you get punished for it. Those banks they torched the economy. And did they get punished? No, they did not. No one went to jail. One dude from HSBC in France went to jail. That's it. The rest of them got to keep their businesses and shortly after paid themselves huge bonuses. That ain't fair, man. It's not how the system was supposed to work. And the reason why it did was because of a counterfactual presented to Congress on the day the TARP bill was presented. Actually, it was the second time TARP was presented, because the first time TARP was presented, they voted it down. And the Dow dropped 600 or 700 points that day. And that's fine. You didn't have government intervention. But then the second time, they went to him and they threw that scenario at him. Be like, look, man, if you don't do this, this is what's going to happen. You don't know that. You don't know that that's what's going to happen. But they took the bait because they wanted to get reelected. Oh, a bunch of bastards. I tell you. And you know, when the coronavirus hit, and they, again, did something very similar, which is anytime there's a problem, you throw currency at it. Notice I don't say money, but you throw currency at it. As it was going on, people were like, this is a bad idea, man. This is a bad idea. And I remember at the time, I think, Trump was president, right? 2020? Oh my God, now I can't even remember. Yeah, right? It was 2020. He was president from 16 to 20. Oh, yeah. The elections were in November. Yeah. So he was president. So he was in charge of the whole thing. But he just kept saying about the whole time about how the economy's so strong, Really? If the economy was so strong and we were hit with a pandemic like that, wouldn't we have enough savings at the personal, corporate, and government level to be able to withstand shutting down the economy for 2 weeks? If the economy was strong, that's what would have happened. But it wasn't. Oh, up here? Okay. Morning, man. Morning.
All right, there you go. You have a go.
Thanks, man. But think about it. Economies grow because of savings and investment. And if the American consumer was encouraged to save, that pandemic would have been no problem. We would have weathered that storm. Remember in World War II when the government asked people to sacrifice? They had no problem. I don't think as far as I know, I wasn't there, but it seems like from the stories that we have is that people didn't have a problem sacrificing back then. They understood the gravity of the situation. Well, if the average American household had 3 months of savings, 3 months of emergency savings, in other words, you could cover your bills for 3 months, then those pandemic shutdowns would have been nothing. The American public, I think the majority of the American public would have said to themselves, hey, all right, we understand this is a horrible horrible thing that is hitting the planet. And in order to keep everybody safe and flatten the curve, we'll do this. We'll shut things down for 2 weeks because we have the savings in order to weather this storm. We didn't have the savings. Nobody had the savings. Why do you think they printed, what was it, $9 trillion in total? Is how much the Federal Reserve's balance sheet expanded, plus all of those $1,800 checks that were going out to everybody. I remember that. It was sad. And then it was maddening. Anyway, all right. I've been rambling. I hope I didn't depress anybody. Because again, these are it's sobering, but it gets you mad. And it gets me mad because it's going to ruin our kids' future on some level when this all comes to a head, all comes crashing down. Because they're the ones that are going to have to end up paying for it. And we just want to give them a fair shot. Fucking in Congress for 40 years. Get the hell out of there. Six years, that's it. If you can't affect change, get the fuck out. Lying in their pockets, bunch of fucking bastards. Now I'm getting mad again. Oh boy. Oh boy. All right, let's close this thing down on a Wednesday. I'm going to wish everybody a great Wednesday, and I will smell you tomorrow.